Hi, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us. My name is Karina Bruce. I am one of the staff members in the admissions office here at Center College, and we're so excited to have you guys here today. Just some quick housekeeping before we get started. You'll notice that you will not be able to unmute yourself or turn on your video during this program, but please feel free to use the chat feature if you have any questions. One of our staff members will be on chat to be able to answer any of the questions that you may have. You can also go in the top right-hand corner if you'd like, and if you want to pin anyone specifically, we have an interpreter here as well, so you can use that. And you would just go and click on those three dots and hit on pin, and that will allow you to only see that person throughout the event. So if that's something that you're interested in, please be sure to use that. We hopefully won't take up too much of your time, but again, we're so excited to have you here, and we hope that you enjoy all that we have to offer today. We're going to get started with a quick video from our president, Dr. Milton Moreland. He just wanted to kind of stop by virtually to say hi to you all. So we're going to get started with that in just a second.
Hello and welcome to our second Center Spotlight. Great to have you join us today. Looking forward to an amazing program. And I hope you are having an amazing summer. I'm Milton Moreland, the president here at Center College, and I am so thankful for the faculty and the students that will join us today to talk about their experiences at Center. One of the great things they're going to talk about is our study abroad and our study away programs. We want every Center student to have an opportunity to have a global experience or to study in New York or Washington, D.C., to work with people around the world in some fascinating topics and some fascinating areas to work. I am here in Olin Hall and in the Knowlton Center for math, and place where we have our computer science, our data science, our chemistry, and a lot of our physics labs. This place is completely redone with amazing spaces. It's also a place where our students work on great projects and do research with our faculty members, which is a highlight of an extraordinary, premier, world-class education that you will get here at Center. 85% or more of our students work on research projects or work on internships and work very closely with faculty and community members in high-level engaging work that's also oriented to help you find amazing careers and to get into great graduate programs, medical schools and law schools. So we're focused on that with you. In fact, it's our commitment to you, the Center commitment. We want you to study abroad. We want you to have a research opportunity or an internship opportunity, and we want you to graduate in 4 years. That's our commitment to you. We guarantee that if you go through this process with us, over 4 years, you're going to be able to accomplish all of those things. Well, you're going to learn more about it today in this program. Looking forward to hearing from a lot of students who are living this out and who have great stories to tell and great examples of how to do this well at Center College. This is a place that values world-class education, but also personalized and engaged education that's going to lead you to amazing careers in your future. Glad you're with us. Glad you're looking at Center College. Welcome to the program.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Moreland, even though he's not here with us today. Next up, we have Bob Nezmuth. He is our Dean of Admission and Financial Aid here at Center College. And he's just going to welcome you guys today and say a few remarks. So Bob.
Hello, folks. Hope everyone's doing well. It is a hot, humid, sunny day in Danville. It is definitely summertime here. And there is something called the Great American Brass Band Festival going on downtown. So lots of bands, lots of food trucks, lots of people and activity. It's kind of a festive weekend here in Danville. You guys are all over the place. We had really, one of the pleasures of doing virtual programming is you get a chance to connect with people wherever they are in the world. And our registration list, when I scanned through it this morning, had students from Brazil and the Philippines and Bangladesh and Burbank, California and Anchorage, Alaska, and all sorts of Midwestern and Southern states. Really fun to see where everybody's coming from. I don't have much to add to Milton's introduction for our program, but I did want to briefly just emphasize a couple of things about the academic experience we offer. One is that the most important aspect, perhaps, of your education here will be the quality of the teaching that happens in our classrooms. We have an expert faculty who are not only really effective teachers, they're incredibly devoted to our students and to seeing them succeed. So there's a high level of challenge academically, but which is what you want because it makes you better. But there is also a high level of support to help you reach levels of success that are beyond what you even imagined for yourself. That's how you develop yourself fully as a person. And our faculty are incredibly good at that. And they work really hard at it. Even among small liberal arts colleges, Center is a place where teaching matters and is done especially well. The second thing I want you to know is that this kind of education is incredibly relevant and valuable right now. People don't always think that about liberal arts colleges, but the fact is that the experience you have here develops skills and capabilities as a thinker, as a writer and communicator, as a creator, as an analyst, as someone who knows how to connect across differences and who knows how to collaborate with others and lead. Those are the things that our educational experience is designed to grow. And employers and graduate programs value those skills and capabilities really highly. No employer can teach you how to write and speak and communicate as well as we can. No employer can teach you to think critically and creatively the way your education here will. And they know that and they value that. So our graduates have incredible success when they hit the job market, when they apply to graduate and professional schools, when they take that next step of their life. And it's an education that will serve you your whole life because the skills that we develop don't become outdated. Creative thinking does not become outdated and irrelevant when you're 50 years old. It still serves you well. So it's personal, it's relevant, and it's powerfully effective. And if you come here, you can expect that. Now I'd like to turn to our panel so you can hear from some real experts. I'll turn it back to Karina to introduce that part of the program.
Thanks, Bob. Okay, you all, so we're going to go ahead and get right into our program. Again, we're so excited to have you guys here, and we hope that you enjoy hearing from our panelists. I think that they're going to have some really great things to talk with you guys about. And so panelists, if you wouldn't mind going ahead and unmuting yourself and turning your video on for me. And then we're going to start with Dr. Wood. If you wouldn't mind, go ahead and introduce yourself. So let us know your name, what you do at Center, and any kind of programs or anything like that that you all may be involved in.
Hey, thanks so much, Karina. Everyone, glad to be here. Actually, at my sister's place in Southern Arizona. Great to be Zooming with you all. What I do at the college, I just finished my 5th year. I'm in French and Humanities. French is my first language. Most of my family comes from French Polynesia, Tahiti, and I spent most of my time in education in the States, but I teach courses at all levels of French, and then courses that bridge philosophy and literature as well. Glad to be here.
Awesome. And McKenna?
Hey guys, I'm McKenna Hewlett. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. I'm a senior at Center, which is crazy. I'm an international studies major, politics minor. Some things I do on campus. I work for the admissions office. I'm an ambassador. I'm in Christian fellowship. I'm a tour guide, and I'm involved in Greek life, and I play center women's lacrosse. So.
And Sarah Glenn?
Hi there, I'm Sarah Glenn Insco. I am also a rising senior. I am a psychology major and a Spanish minor. Some of the things that I'm involved in, I'm also involved in Greek life. I am a center ambassador as well, so I do tours. And then I also am in center orchestra, and I do some volunteer tutoring here on campus as well. And I'm from Georgetown, Kentucky.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. And again, just kind of reintroducing myself. My name is Karina Bruce. I'll kind of act as a moderator today. And again, I work in the admissions office. So some of you guys, I may be your admissions counselor this year. And so we're going to get started first with some academics. So Dr. Wood, I know that there's been some adjustments due to COVID, but can you tell us a little bit about some of the courses that you're teaching and kind of what some things you've changed and what you hope to continue for next year?
Yeah, gladly. Thanks for that question. So a direct answer is kind of just go with the flow, if you will. One of the courses I taught in the fall term was a French conversation class, but it was modified to be a global Francophone conversation course about COVID's impacts in all sorts of areas of the world. So for example, Algeria, Canada, Tahiti, Mali, Belgium, and of course, France. So that was, I think, very productive and interesting. It was a way to just naturally, as it were, kind of keep up with trends and different perspectives and what we're all going through, but what some people are particularly going through. And I think from the student point of view, the feedback was excellent, and I absolutely appreciated the effort. And then to speak to some more of that, of course, it's very likely been challenging for most people to adjust on the fly and make changes, but I think that the connection with students, personally speaking at least, and I know for a lot of colleagues, and maybe all colleagues, has become a lot more close and caring in a professional, productive way. And that has to continue forward as we move. And from another point of view, there's also courses I teach on absurdity, for instance. So briefly stated, it's the kind of constant tension between our desire for harmony and the world's indifference or sometimes hostility. And that course as well, I think the students were just wonderful going through that. So that's just a kind of snapshot. And moving forward, maybe perhaps later in the panel, we can talk a bit about some study abroad courses as well. Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you, Dr. Wood. And so this question is going to be for Sarah Glenn and McKenna. So of course we know that coming into college, everything is kind of scary and you're very confused. You don't know what you want to study, or you have a lot of ideas of what you think you want to study. So can you all talk a little bit, and McKenna, you can start, just a little bit about how you came to decide on what your major and minor was, or what exactly that process looked like for you all?
Yeah, coming into college is hard because it's not always like set in stone about what you want to do. It's a 4 years of figuring out kind of yourself. So coming in, I did not know what I wanted to major in. So it was a good learning experience my first year, talking to professors, talking to my advisor, and kind of figuring out what I didn't want to do, and then my interests that I would maybe like want to be in outside of college. So I'm kind of looking at being like going into the field of marketing after college. And so I was thinking, I love to travel. I would love to do that internationally. And so my advisor was like, why don't you try out some courses in international studies? And I kind of fell in love with it. I always wanted to study abroad, which was a big pull for center. And so that's kind of how I chose my major. And then I took a bunch of politics classes along the way, kind of that is in like kind of with my major as well. And it led me to being a politics minor, and I've never looked back. I really like it. And that's kind of just how I chose it. It's more what works best for you. What do you see yourself doing long term? And it's not a big pressure because center doesn't make you declare until the end of your sophomore year. So you have plenty of time. And you know, all my friends were stressing out at different schools, and my dad was like, you have so much time, like figure out what you want to take some fun classes. So yeah, my advisor really helped me with that.
I had a kind of similar experience to McKenna. I knew I was interested in psychology coming into center. I had taken an AP psychology class in high school, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. Like, it's a really great mix of like STEM, but also like working with people. And I really enjoyed that aspect of it. But then I got here and I changed my mind like 3 or 4 times, and I ended back on psychology. So that's nice. But for my minor for Spanish, that came about in a different way. So I took a few Spanish courses in high school. I liked it, but I was kind of just doing it for the credit. And then I got here, had to take one more Spanish class to fulfill my gen ed requirement. And I loved my professor. I loved the subject. And so I was like, I'm sticking with this. And then going abroad as well to a Spanish speaking country really heightened my awareness of the culture, and I really got into it even more.
That's awesome. Thank you guys. And for those of you guys, I don't know if you guys caught it in Dr. Milton's video, but here at Center, we have something called the Center Commitment. And so the Center Commitment is something that we promise for all of our enrolled students. And essentially what that is we promise that you will be able to have a research project or an internship. You'll be able to study abroad, and you'll be able to do all of that within 4 years. If you're not able to do that in 4 years, of course, bearing you're a good student, of course, we will pay for the 5th year. And so, Dr. Wood, can you talk to us a little bit about maybe some research and internship opportunities that students can get involved in here at Center?
Yeah, and so as far as the research goes, there's a whole lot of different vectors that can take place depending on if someone's interested, more in say biology or in international relations. I've worked with French students, for instance, who have done really neat internships in Strasbourg, France, the same place where we have one of our study abroad hubs where people can study for an entire semester, but also can do summer internships. There's a whole lot of research possibilities as well. And I've worked closely with students, for instance, through independent studies and whatnot, related to their study abroad experiences. And
Thank you. And Sarah Glenn and McKenna, and Sarah Glenn, you can start off this time. Can you talk to us maybe about some of the research and internship opportunities that you've been involved in, and how were you introduced to these?
Yeah, sure. So I'll start out my freshman year, or sorry, my first year. I was offered a research position with one of the psychology professors, which, in case you didn't know, it's very rare to get offered a research position at any school your freshman year. And I don't think I realized how big of a deal it was, but it really shaped the rest of my college. But essentially, he just, in our intro to psychology class, just asked us, he told us about what he was studying, and then he said, okay, anybody want to do research with me? Come talk to me in my office. And me and a few other students did that, and we got to know that, and then started research with him. So that was pretty great. And then currently I am interning in Danville at a psychiatric facility here in Danville, and I'm really enjoying that, getting some experience in the field. And then I am doing another internship this upcoming center term, so in January. I'm going back to where I studied abroad to complete an internship there. And lastly, this next year, I am doing more research with a different psychology professor. So I've really gotten a lot of experience in both of those fields, and I'm really excited for what they mean for me for graduate school as well.
Yeah, Center's great in the fact that, like you said, the 4-year commitment, you get so much out of your 4 years here, not just like clubs and everything, but internships. It's been kind of such a resume builder for me, but also just it's good and nice to get some experience for what I would want to do after college. I studied abroad for a center term, and I was supposed to study abroad in the fall to go to France, and that got canceled because of COVID. And so the career office, which is a great resource on campus, reached out to a bunch of people, and they were like, this program, basically, if you apply, we have an opportunity to gain a lot of you can apply and get into this international program, and then it matches you with an internship abroad. And I dove headfirst into that. And so I had an internship virtually in London. I was an investor relations intern there. And it was incredible. It was for a semester. So I did that while I was taking some classes, and I really gained some experience doing some international work, different time zones with different nationalities. And it was amazing. I loved it, and I gained a lot of experience. And then right now I'm currently a marketing intern for the admissions office at Center in Danville. So it's been fun to be there, working with some different facets of marketing. So it's really afforded me a lot of opportunities at Center while I'm here, not only with like clubs and sports and everything, but also to build my resume for after college. I think it really sets you up for success. So
That's awesome. Thank you, guys. And so we're kind of segueing ourselves into study abroad. As you can tell, we're very proud of our study abroad program here at Center. There's a lot of different opportunities that you can take advantage of. And even though COVID tried to steal some of that away, we were able to still allow some students to do some of those virtually, like McKenna said. And so either way, we're going to try and make sure that we find a way to get you to what you need to do to be able to graduate in those 4 years and be sure that you're successful wherever it is that you choose to go after those 4 years. And so I know Sarah, Glenn, and McKenna kind of touched a little bit on their study abroad experiences, but can you guys talk to us and maybe go a little bit more in depth about what those programs are, maybe if there's some requirements or anything like that that you may need in order to complete those programs?
Sure, I can start out. So I was in Merida, Mexico, which is one of our semester-long programs in spring of 2020, which I got to spend half of the time there before we came home just for safety and everything. But I still got a very fulfilling experience. And like I said earlier, I'm going to get to go back. But for Merida, there are no language requirements. If you haven't taken a bit of Spanish, you can still go. If you're a Spanish major, you can still go. If you're a native speaker, you can still go. And one of the amazing things that was part of the reason why I applied for Merida was we have a homestay. So we get to stay with a local family. And most of the time they don't know any English, which it was fine with me because I got that full immersion. I needed to speak Spanish to learn it, and I absolutely loved it. Also, it's just like a great bond that you can build with people from a different country. So that's fantastic. And then also part of the Merida program, we partner with a language learning institution there. And that's where we take all of our classes. And we also, there's a few students who intern with them from a different university there that we get to interact with. So it's students our own age who are from Merida. And usually there's about 20 students who go each semester. And so you get really close to those people. And there's usually about like 6 to 8 classes offered. And there's one class that you take that everybody takes together that is usually the professor who travels with you. It's usually their area of focus. So I took a water equity class, which is out of both of my fields of study, but I ended up really enjoying it. And then you get to choose your other classes based on your interests or your Spanish levels. And those are sometimes with local professors as well. And then lastly, you get to take 2 different excursions while you're in Merida with your class, and you get to go either to a different place in Central America or a different place in Mexico. We got to complete one of those before we needed to come home, but we got to go to Chiapas, and that was a great experience as well. And yeah, I absolutely love my experience. I'm going back, so clearly I really liked Merida, and I'm really excited to go back there. And I hope some of you all will choose Merida as well.
Yeah, going off that, something Sarah Glenn talked about was kind of, it was out of her like major, basically, is what I would say. Center term classes, which are a month-long study, those are kind of like for anyone. You don't have to be a major of that class to go. So I went to Germany my sophomore year, right before the pandemic hit, which is crazy to think about. And it was basically the history of Germany and like the study of their culture. So we went to cathedrals, we saw shows and went to art museums and everything like that to study like their music culture and art culture, which was great. We studied their landscape. I mean, every part of Germany was amazing, and it made me want to like love Europe and kind of study abroad even more. So it was really an invaluable experience, I would say, just to be able to be in one country for 1 month and kind of understand that their whole culture is really kind of inspiring. And so then I applied for Strasbourg, and then COVID hit, and the study abroad office has been really great to kind of work with students who still want to go. And so now I'm going fall of my senior year, which is super exciting. But they're just really great resources and experiences that you probably won't have the opportunity to have outside of college, because you'll want to get a job or you'll want to do post-grad work or something like that. And so center is the place to really expand your horizons, and study abroad is just kind of like like I said, an invaluable opportunity. So I'll get to go to the Human Rights Court in Europe, which is amazing, in my Strasbourg trip, and so many other experiences. So they're kind of for everyone. I know that you can go to Fiji, like Dr. Wood said, or Thailand, England, you name it, there's always some place to go. So they're pretty cool.
Thank you, McKenna. And so here at Center, they've talked a lot about their programs, but something that we have here is where students are able to actually travel and study with faculty abroad. And so these are known as faculty-led programs. And so Dr. Wood, have you been involved in any of these? And if so, what were those experiences like?
Yeah, so gladly, yes, I have been involved. I started summer of 2019. I took students to Tahiti, and it's actually generously subsidized by some former center graduates who wish to remain anonymous. And it's something that can happen every summer too. So it speaks to some of the questions in the chat too about keeping costs down, especially for low-income students, for instance. And that first trip, so most of my family lives in Tahiti. I never really associated it as academic venue until recently, but it was wonderful. And the student feedback, just to share a different part of the world, and to really immerse ourselves in a very focused way on, for instance, festivals and sports. That was what we were really focusing in on how identity gets performed. And then a related study abroad course was in southern India, where I went with a colleague. There's actually, most people don't know this, it's a very small French-speaking region of southern India called Pondichéry. And we brought students there. And some of those students were the same students who went to Tahiti. So to be 20 years old, let's say, and to be able to experience a Francophone region in southern India and a Francophone region in the middle of the South Pacific, I don't know where else that can be done personally. And just to keep this momentum going, of course, as Sarah Glenn and McKenna mentioned, right, the pandemic and whatnot, put the brakes on some programs in a physical sense, but we've been really working a lot on how to make even better programming. And so, for instance, in January of 22, we'll be going with students to Huahine. It's a very, very small island, let's say, 6,000 residents. It's part of Tahiti. It's almost like what Kauai is to Hawaii, let's say. And about 14 students or so will be going. There's a French track, there's a humanities track, and there's an environmental studies track. And it doesn't necessarily have to hook up with one's major. It might, but it also might be a way to say, this is a good chance in my life to learn a bit about how Tahitians from a very small island construe and practice sustainable living, or to practice French in that way, or to learn some Tahitian, for instance. So to me, it's a gift to be able to work at a place like this and do things like that. Because personally, I feel like the bonds that are formed on that kind of course are just so strong and profound, right? Of course, the relationship with students in general is great, but when you're together like that all the time, there's part of you that says, is this going to go well? But once you get through, you just say, wow, I'm so glad to know you all, to work with you all. It's special, really special.
That sounds great. Thank you, Dr. Wood. I do want to pivot a little bit because I see there's some really good questions in the chat. And so before we go on a little bit further, I do just want to touch on it really quickly, and then we'll get right back on track. And this could be any three of you guys who would like to answer this. But I believe, let's see, someone asked, would you say that center is more pre-professional intellectual, maybe more collaborative or competitive? And I just want to touch on that question before we move forward, just to kind of let students know exactly what center is all about in that respect.
I can answer the second part of that question about the collaborative or competitive. I think one of the best things about Center is the community that we have here. And I would definitely say that Center is more collaborative. Despite our academics being very intense, we help each other. And so it really alleviates a lot of the stress that we have. And there's not really an attitude here on campus of, well, I'm not going to help you because I want to do better than you on this test or anything like that. Or, oh, I don't want you to get into this program because I want to get into that program. There's not really an attitude of that here. It's more like, how can I help you better yourself? And how can you help me better myself? And so I would definitely say collaborative is a better descriptor for Center.
Yeah, going off that, I would say that our community is something special where we all want to see each other succeed. And so where I would say our competitiveness comes in is like post-grad, Center sets you up for success. They want to see you not only survive after post-grad, but thrive. I think is a really great word to put it. And so that is like your 4 years here, you're working with professors and your like co-students and classrooms outside of the classrooms and clubs to make sure that you're having the best 4 years possible, but also to see yourself kind of in the best place after you graduate. And so I think it's both. I think they're both great words to describe Center, just to make sure that like you see Center as like this well-rounded institution that it is. Like our community is here to kind of like push you forward and push you to like be the best you can be. So I think it's really a cool place to be.
That's awesome. Thank you, guys. Oh, Bob, were you going to add something?
I just wanted to speak to the first part of the question, a center more intellectual or pre-professional. And I would say we don't find those things opposed to each other, but aligned, so that the intellectual exploration you do in your courses builds skills that are incredibly valuable for professions. And we have a lot of students who are pointed towards what we traditionally would consider the professions, in terms of law, medicine, business, even engineering. But they prepare through broad study across a lot of different disciplines to build really flexible and powerful intellectual skills that will serve them as they head into the professional training they need to do that work. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense.
It does. Yes. Thank you, guys. And I especially like the way that McKenna said thriving. I think that's a really great word, because I think it describes perfectly what the goal here at Center is we want students to be empowered, and we want to make sure that when they go out into the world that they truly do thrive. And so I think that that's a really great way to kind of put what we want for our students, and again, what Center is all about. I know we could probably go on and on about so many different things, so many different facets of Center, but I do just want to touch on these last two questions before we finish up for today. And so this one, Dr. Wood may know a little bit more, but also McKenna and Sarah Glenn can probably also add into this as well. But it seems like a lot of students always, their biggest question is, okay, Karina, I really want to study abroad. I think it's something that I want to do, but I'm not sure if I can afford it. I'm not sure what those costs look like. So can you guys talk a little bit about what those costs look like, how students can get those costs reduced, and kind of what that process looks like?
I can jump in on this one if you want.
Yeah, always welcome.
Most of our students study abroad through Center programs and partnerships. And the deal with those is whatever you pay to go to Center College on campus is what you pay to go study abroad for our long-term study abroad programs. There's sometimes a little bit, there can be a few $100s of an additional fee, but generally the cost is the same, and your aid and scholarships are the same, and apply wherever you go. So for most students, it's not a hugely different financial challenge than simply being in college on our campus. You want to have some extra spending money and some money to cover travel expense. But that's the kind of thing that is typically earnings from a summer job or paid internship can get you that. The other thing I would say is that we are steadily increasing the resources available to help subsidize and aid students who are going on center term trips where there is additional cost. Where we don't have ongoing partnerships or facilities, there will typically be an additional charge, but your food cost is reduced as part of your bill for that term, and then you can often get additional aid to help with that extra cost. We really work very hard to make sure that that finances aren't a barrier to great students studying abroad in interesting places, and we're really successful with that.
I would like to add on as well. A fantastic thing that Center does for first year students is if you don't have your passport coming into Center, which was me, I had never been out of the country before, you can get your passport, take your receipt, bring it to Center, and they will reimburse you for your passport. And those can get pretty expensive. So that's a great thing. They want you to study abroad so badly that they will pay for your passport.
That's awesome. Thank you all so much. One final question. I just like this question because I think it can kind of serve any student. So if Sarah, Glenn, and McKenna, if you guys could answer, what would you say is the best piece of advice that you would give to a student entering into college or who is thinking about college? I know that it's so broad, you could say anything. There's so many things. You can go, McKenna.
Yeah, I would say looking for your college is kind of it's a hard experience, especially as a high schooler. You're having to make a bunch of different decisions for your next path, and I think that it really takes you out of your comfort zone. And so when I went on my journey to find my place for the next 4 years, it was a little overwhelming. I had a lot of people like pulling me in different places, and finally like my parents set me down and they were like, the next 4 years is your own, and you need to make the best decisions for you. And I thought that was a really great piece of advice for me, and that's something I tell everybody else that asks me something like that, is just because this is the next 4 years where you not only like study a lot, but you make friends, and you're in this, like, it becomes a place that's your home, and you want that to be a place that you feel like you fit. And so when you're on this like trip to find that place, whether it's Center, whether it's not, make sure it just like fits you and what you want out of your 4 years. And I think that that's the best place you can end up. So that's my piece of advice.
Yeah, that's some great advice. I would also like to add on, as much as you can, try to get on a campus if you are interested in a college. I know it can be kind of difficult right now, but try to step foot on that campus. Try to be there when classes are changing and students are walking around. Like, go look in the dining hall. Like, are the students interacting with each other? Are people getting involved in different things? Are there advertisement for different student activities on campus? And just getting there and experiencing as much as you can what it's like to be a student there, because academics are super important, but what's also important is the people that you're going to be around and the campus culture.
Yeah, and then to riff off that a bit too, just one thing, again, academics of course are important, grades and the choice of major and whatnot, but especially as this last year and change has revealed, oftentimes it's the things you do that are so-called extracurricular that can really set you apart or make you stand out, or just make you a more well-rounded person, whether that's right, practicing yoga for 5 years or judo, or right, just there's always an instrument you want to try to learn. Things like that as well, I think, can be really interesting, and something you can put a certain kind of passion into that complements you and makes you feel just better and other people around you better, perhaps, right? Something to think about.
That all sounds really great. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Sarah, Glenn. Thank you, Dr. Wood. Thank you, McKenna, for being here today. I really appreciate it. It seems like a lot of the students and families that we have here today have tons of questions. And so hopefully we were able to answer some of those. And then next I'm going to hand it over to Ms. Pam Boffman. She is our Director of Admissions, and she's going to close us out today.
Great. Thank you so much, Karina. And thank you to our students and Dr. Wood for their thoughts. Hearing them really makes me want to be a center student again. And even 25 years ago, I had the good, well, more than that, but had the good fortune to study abroad, conduct research with a professor, and complete an internship. So center's pretty seasoned in these offerings. So let's talk about your capacity for growth. And what is your capacity for adventure? We firmly believe that your potential to challenge yourself and to gain new insight about who you want to become and your active development as a global citizen should just be part of your undergraduate experience. It should be your expectation that you will feel confident, prepared, and well-equipped to look at the world through an educated, well-informed, perceptive, compassionate lens. So how do you gain that experience? You do that through experiential learning, the kind of learning that unfolds through engaging classroom discussions and labs, immersing yourself in a new culture through study abroad, relishing the vibrancy of a new city through study away, or working alongside professionals through an internship, and learning the best techniques through collaborative research with a very skilled and favorite professor. These are the experiences which complement the classroom, where you really test your knowledge, but you also test your ability to solve complex problems, adapt to new situations, and enjoy those moments of satisfaction when you realize that you figured it out on your own. Oh, the gratification you enjoy when you explore your way through Strasbourg, France, to find that hidden local cafe with the very best scones and the ideal garden to read a treasured novel. How satisfying is it when you've been entrusted to completely manage a data science project and you learn that you not only did well, but you exceeded your internship supervisor's expectations? What an accomplishment when your collaborative research professor tells you to submit your research for publication and that they have plans for you to present findings at a really important and respected conference. As I said earlier, you should expect to gain this confidence and preparation during your college experience. Don't settle for less, and do not shortchange yourself. There is too much on the horizon for you to explore and accomplish. We would love for you to start your journey with us here at Center. Then see how you can move the world forward from Center out. I would like to thank you all for spending some of your Saturday with us. If you are enjoying the beautiful weather, we'll let you get back to that, maybe get outside. But I do want to thank Karina for organizing us today. I'd like to also offer thanks to our interpreter and those who participated in today's program. We are hosting visitors this summer, so you can find details about that online, and we really look forward to connecting with you in person. So thank you. Have a good day.